What's up, Crispy here? And as you can see, the Bacopa and the few of the Kabamba is getting too long. So that means it's time to trim. I know that I did a contest, and I guess if a lot of my plants keep growing too tall, then you'll probably get more than what I said you would get, or probably I might add in some other plants too, maybe even a crypt. So remember to join at that contest. So this video I want to show you guys how I trim my plants and a few methods of replanting it or stuff like that, so stay tuned. So now I'm just gonna freestyle my camera simply because the tripod takes way too much time adjusting. So I'm just gonna walk you through a little bit of what I want to trim. I'm planning to trim this plant right here. It's called a mermaid weed. I can't remember the scientific name, so I'll leave it at that. The reason why I want to trim it is because the Bacopa got too tall, and eventually what happened was that it shaded this area right here. So this mermaid weed was getting fast growth too, so it decided to grow out sideways away from the shade so it can get a sufficient light that it needs. So that's what plants do all the time. Keep in mind that whenever you want to grow like some plants that can grow tall, make sure you don't plant it under anything, because this is what happens to it. It will start to grow out sideways because it can grow. Because plants that grow a lot slower, like Anubias or Java ferns or just something that grows slow, it will not be able to grow sideways simply because it can't grow fast enough. So keep that in mind. Fast plants will grow sideways like this, so I'm gonna do something about that. All these Bacopas are going down. They're getting too tall. As you can see here, they're growing out of my tank, making my CO2s look like nothing because they're getting CO2 from the room. So all the Bacopas going down. The Kabamba's going down too. I have red and green. Okay, so this is the red and this is the green. They look really similar, but the thing is the red just hasn't stayed in my tank for that long, so the coloration has not come yet, because I guess the person that had it previously before me didn't have a strong enough light, so the plant itself, when I received it, wasn't red enough. So eventually it will turn red. So all that's going, and I know I made a contest about these Bacopas, but they are just getting too tall. I don't know why I said a month, but since I made it like that already, you will get at least 7 stems of these whenever you win second place, if anybody's even entering. But I might add some more plants to it because a lot of my plants are growing fast. To me, this tank is considered a high-tech tank because light is high, fertilized dosing is included, substrate is nutrient rich, good flow, CO2's in there. So to me that's considered a high-tech tank, and a high-tech tank plants grow really fast. This plant right here, I'm probably not gonna touch it until like 2 to 3 weeks later, whenever a leaf first touched the very top of the water, then I'll do something about it. This Indica right here is gonna get trimmed down. It's getting way too tall. I can't stand the fact of looking at it and it's just tall and it's not bushy, and you can see a lot of space through it. I just wanted to have it look like this right here up there, but I'm not there yet. Especially because I don't like the green look and then it gets colorful. I want it to be colorful from the very bottom all the way up, and that's what I really want. These stems was trimmed down already from this batch right here. I trimmed it all the way down here, and I replanted the colorful ones. That's what I'm gonna do to these two, so stay tuned. As you can see in the previous video, I trimmed a lot of stems up there and a few stems down there. And the explanation for that is because the stems that I trimmed up here were the really tall ones, and the ones I trimmed lower were ones that was probably a little bit taller than this one only. And so if you could imagine, if I was to go right there and trim right there, that piece right there, that would take a long time to regrow back, and it's very possible that it will survive and it will grow back, but it would take a long time. So I like to go a little bit lower, so I have more to work with, see more growth on it. And that's one really good technique that I learned personally. So let's get to roots. I have a few points that I want to share too. So this is the mermaid weed that I trimmed earlier. And as you can see there is no roots at all. That's what I like about mermaid weed so much, because they don't have roots whenever they're tall. The roots just like growing at the very bottom only, and no matter how tall they get, they just don't have roots from my experience. But if they don't have roots, that is one really easy way to deal with it. All you gotta do is let it float on top of the tank, just like here. Let it float. Depending on how strong your light is, the roots can grow fast. If you have a weaker light, it will take much longer to grow the roots, and then after develop the roots, then you can plant it. So that's one really good way. And you can sure as well plant the plant just like this too. It don't really need roots because it's already acclimated to your tank. It grows in your tank already. It knows what your tank has already. So if you replant like that, it will take much more longer to regrow, and that is one really good way to deal with fast growing plants just like this one right here. This is Alternate Rednecky regular. So as you can see, their roots action are just crazy. They are going and going. So for fast growing plants, a lot of people don't know this because they just think that, oh, the right way to propagate plants are to cut where the roots are at. That is true, but for fast growing plants, that is not a good thing, because if you trim where the roots are at and you replant the roots, it's a natural thing for any plant. If you trim it, growth is gonna explode, and if it has roots, it's gonna explode faster. So the same thing, if you ever wonder why you always trim and replant the roots back in there and just grow back like the next week or two the same height already, it's because of that. So what you would like to do is trim above the roots, replant that part, and I can guarantee you that the plant will start its growth for a good 2 to 3 weeks before you start seeing exploded growth again. So that's another good technique that I've learned. For the Rotala indica, I'm not going to show you guys how I trim it, simply because my video is already too long. I don't want to keep you guys waiting, and also because I done shared a lot of information that I want to point out already. So for today's last piece of the puzzle, I will like to talk about generations and the trimmings of the plants. So for a plant, you could trim it anywhere from here to the middle or to the very bottom. I like to trim mine to the very bottom, especially on the Rotala indicas, because they grow really fast. So whenever you trim a plant and you replant the top part, that will be generations. So for example, this plant is on the second generation because it done already grew all the way to the top. I trimmed it somewhere around here and replanted it, and now it's going on the second. So believe me, if you replant it to the bottom, the plant will probably grow up a little bit only, and it will stay there. The color will stay at the bottom, and the top will just keep growing higher. So I'll let you decide if generation counts or not, because a lot of people don't know this, and all they do is trim it and just keep trimming it and selling it, or trimming it and throwing it away, and they always wonder why the middle part is not as bright as other people's. And the reason is because you don't have generations on your trimmings. because they just trim the top part and throw the top part away or sell it and let the bottom part regrow again, and the same thing keeps staying green. So generation matters. Subscribe to my page. Peace.